again. It's Tuesday night. Welcome to the 802 Cup Series podcast. I'm Greg Draiss, your host. And tonight we have a special guest, Frank Zingen, a driver of the number 62 from Penny Stackers Racing. He's also one of the new admins in the league, along with myself, just invited to be an admin. Enjoy doing that there. The 802 Cup Series podcast, I'd like to say thanks to Riptide Radio, Jeff Barefoot, for throwing out the line there with a gift card every week, so you can tune into Riptide Radio for some of that great Carolina Shag beach music. I found a station like that over the summertime, out on the patio, sipping some cold ones and some cocktails, and nothing like Carolina Shag in the summertime. Extreme Sim TV is our broadcaster every week. Thanks to them, you can check them out on YouTube, as well as the 802 Cup Series podcast, which is live tonight on Twitch. You can watch the video there for 2 weeks before they take it away to save server space. But don't worry, you can watch it and listen to it forever. We'll load it up to YouTube tonight, and then tomorrow morning we'll take out the audio and send it to Spotify, Amazon, and just about every other big podcast and small podcast platform out there. What we do every week is we review last week's race, which is 2 days ago at Las Vegas, week number 8. We'll talk about the top finishers, point standings, and more. And then we have our special guest every week. We try to have a guest every week. Last week was Justin Clapper, the rear tire changer for Zane Smith, the Truck Series champion for NASCAR last year. And this year he'll be working the Xfinity Series for Jeb Burton, doing the pit crew there, and also working on putting together something for the Truck Series, and he'll get back to us with that. I'll also cover some league news, talk about upcoming themes. We had movie night this past week, and then prior to that was Toontown. Our next theme is Throwback Week coming up at Darlington, I believe, in 2 weeks. And then we'll look at this week's race, which is coming up at Atlanta, which I think will end the regular season. And then we go into playoff season. All those dings, that's my kid down in Long Island. He's hanging out at the America First warehouse with all his right-wing buddies down there, sending pictures of Giuliani's son and all the Fox News guys that he hangs out with on the weekend. So that's what that thing is there. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest tonight, Frank Zingen. Is that how you pronounce your name, Frank? Zingen or Zingen?
Zingen.
Zingen, there you go. He's the driver of the number 62 for the Penny Stackers race team, and he's also new on board as an 802 Cup Series admin. So, Frank, usually what I do with guests, but I didn't have time to send anything out to you, is get like a little bio. Could you introduce yourself to everybody there? We do have listeners and viewers all around the world. How did you, first of all, where are you located?
I'm located in Illinois, just south of Chicago.
And we're talking there, comparing downtowns between Chicago and Manhattan, how much I prefer Manhattan. So tell me a little bit about how your racing history. When have you ever raced in real life? When did you get interested in racing? Who was your influence, and when did you start iRacing?
Well, I never have done any real racing. My father got me a go-kart when I was a kid. Probably, I think maybe 3 years old, he got me a junior Chevy body go-kart. And that was way over too powered for me to be driving. So I never really drove that until my dad got me a field cart, probably when I was about 10, 11. I got a little hoppy motor from Harbor Freight, put it on there with some freight cables and a gas cable, and it was just off to the races in the backyard at that point.
So on the golf, not that I said the golf cart. You see, at my age, we drive golf carts. That's what I do at Lime Rock. But your go-kart, you said you never drove it. Was that, did Mom have any influence over you not driving something too big and fast for your age?
Definitely, I would say so. That and my sister got into it. She's 15 years older than me, so she got in it and was flying down the street, and all of a sudden she goes flying by, and the back of her hair is on fire, and where everybody's running to go get the fire extinguisher out of the garage. And I think that kind of put an end to that cart. I mean, we still got it. It's sitting in the garage. We still have
it. Did she know her hair was on fire? And
no, I don't think she did when she was flying by with a smile on her face.
Oh, man. So I guess any guys that were interested in her, like the word around town was, "Don't mess with her. She drives a hot car with her hair on fire and doesn't care."
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So the second vehicle you had there, describe that one again.
That was a field cart, and I got that. I think I was 8, maybe 10,
Okay.
somewhere around there. My dad built that, and
Yeah.
driving that in the backyard. I mean, that's where I started learning how to drive a car, really, because I mean that helps you even with snowy situations. The car starts sliding.
Oh,
You
yes,
kind
it
of
does.
figure it out from all these years of riding a go kart.
Yeah. And when did you get interested in racing? And did you go to dirt tracks, asphalt, NASCAR, Indy?
So my dad grew up as a dirt guy, and
Okay.
we used to have a dirt track out by us, but that closed down.
Yeah.
And then we started going to, well, we'd use, they had midget sprints at this track and by us, but that closed down as well.
Oh,
But then we started going to Rockford Speedway, which is huge with NASCAR's history.
okay.
They had people like Rusty Wallace race there, Dale Earnhardt race there, Mark Martin,
Oh, that's cool.
Kenseth, a lot of big names have raced there.
Yeah.
And they have late models there, which is all asphalt. And now we still go to Rockford at least twice a year, but we go to Grundy County, which is a small track out by us, and then for dirt racing, there's Kankakee County Speedway, which we just started going to this year.
Oh, cool. So there's still some
What was that?
there's still some active tracks out that way, not too far from you.
Yeah, the problem is they build all these neighborhoods around them, which gets them all shut down or
the
you can't
NIMBYs.
have noise
Yeah.
after 10 o'clock at night. Or
Yep. That's similar around here. Well, Lime Rock doesn't race on Sundays, and that's been a law in Connecticut for 60 years. And Skip Barber spent, he told us, like $1.5 million fighting it. Came close to winning the lawsuit, and then town elected a bunch of new people, and he ended up losing. So
wow.
yeah, don't you love it? It's like the airport, like O'Hare's been there forever, and then some yuppies come in, they build $1 million house at the end of the runway, and then they start complaining.
Yeah, I mean, you knew it was there when you built the house.
Exactly.
So
somehow that doesn't seem to matter anymore in today's world in a lot of places, especially with race fans.
no.
Yeah. So, what's your favorite series right now?
I'm big into the Cup Series. I mean, I'll follow all 3 series: Trucks, Xfinity. I call them Busch Series, but Xfinity and the Cup Series.
Yeah. You have a favorite driver?
I'm a Kyle Larson fan. I mean, I do like a big underdog, which is partially what our name is, the Penny Stackers, Corey LaJoy.
Ah, okay.
Corey LaJoy or Ricky Stenhouse Jr.
Yep.
This year I'll probably be rooting for Noah Gragson.
Yep. Noah's a good guy. I've seen Corey LaJoy up close quite a few times at Watkins Glen. Because my son, he's a NASCAR photographer, so he'll sit there and talk to all these guys and just turn around and laugh at me on the other side of the fence. So, but if you want, as I spent the money and got the pit passes last year and met a whole bunch of people, just standing there by the NBC booth, and there's oh crap, terrible with names here. Kyle Petty and all the other guys have talked to Kyle a few times. I don't even want to call him by his first name. I don't know him that well, but good guy, definitely. Corey LaJoy, very, very fan friendly.
Yeah, I was a big Kenny Wallace fan too. He's now into dirt.
Yeah.
And my niece had a heart surgery when she's had this heart problem since she was born, but she had CHD.
Yeah.
She's had tons of surgeries, but Kenny Wallace had a car when he was in the Cup Series or Busch Series for CHD, and he had her name on the car. And
cool.
Anytime, Kenny's one of the nicest people ever.
Yep. Seems to be most of them are. So, when did you get into iRacing?
Bought it a year ago, probably a year and 2 months ago.
Uh-huh.
Me and John, we'd always joke I'm buying iRacing. I'm buying it.
Yep.
As soon as you buy it, let me know. I'm pulling the trigger. And one day I was like, hey, I bought it. And sure enough, we were both on it within a month of each other getting it. So.
Oh, that's cool. So was it something you one of the new COVID drivers, or just decided to get on for at that particular time?
I'd always wanted it.
Yeah.
I raced on, I don't even know if you know this, on our 2003, the
Yep.
game.
Yep.
Yeah, that was one of the first ones I ever raced on, which was a long time ago, probably 2008 is when I raced on it. But they had like an open speedway server that they kept
Okay.
open. But I always seen iRacing, and I always heard Dale Jr. talk about it, and it was something I always wanted to get, but I just never could see myself spending the money on it.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened, and they started doing all the races on TV, and I was like, I got to buy one.
I thought that the races on TV were it was so cool in one sense, and then I'm laughing at the announcers because they're basically narrating a cartoon. It looked like, and then the first year of COVID, when I think the first prize for the Coca-Cola series or whatever it was like $40,000. You're watching a kid; he's in his bedroom, and you can see his bed is not made, and there goes the dog walking down the hallway back and forth. It was really kind of cool, and I'm like, wow, this is like the first days of YouTube here. So I've had somebody in the chat room here. They say they're from the Vermont State Police, and they want to know what kind of equipment you use, wheel or pedals.
Well, I got Pro V3 pedals, inverted, that I just bought probably a month ago. 2 months ago, I think. It was Black Friday sale. Bought them. And then I'm still using a Logitech wheel. Mm-hmm. And then other than that, I got triple monitors now.
Okay. What size monitors?
Just bought triple monitors around Christmas time.
Okay.
And that's a world of difference.
Yeah. What size monitors?
They're 24-inch monitors. Actually, I didn't even buy 3 of them. I only had to buy 1 of them because my wife's company went under, and I took 2 of them, and I bought one that was the exact same.
Okay. It's not too bad. And any special racing seat, or how's your rig put together?
So my rig didn't come with a seat. I've tried an actual seat that was meant for this. I didn't like it, so now I just have a Jegs racing seat that I have bolted to a 3/4 piece of plywood that I bolted on here. That's kind of made it work.
That's not too different than mine. I upgraded my pedals last year to Fanatec Sport Club, I think it is, or Club Sport, and I still run a Logitech 920 wheel or 929. I just don't see changing that wheel because I just love that. But the pedals made a world of difference, and the rig, I guess you call it, where everything gets mounted, it's an open wheeler, and we started by sitting on the floor in my basement, racing on a laptop. Then we got an 18-inch monitor, and then I built this contraption out of some scrap wood. My brother-in-law was fixing our garage, and it's now, like I said, on a 3/4-inch piece of plywood. It's about 3 feet wide, 4 feet wide, 6 feet long, 32, 34-inch monitor, and I've got real front fender and rear fender on the driver's side from Greg Biffle when he was doing the Cheez-It scheme. So that's what my rig is, and it's all surrounded by stickers and everything all over the place. So it sounds homemade like yours.
Yeah, I mean the actual rig is Extreme Sim rig, but or not Extreme Sim. It's it's Extreme Sim rig is what it's called. But yeah, it's nice. I moved it around the house a couple times already.
Yep. So yeah, mine's down in what used to be my my home brewing room, and then all of a sudden we had 3 kids, and brewing takes up a lot of time. So then that became my racing room, and then I started getting all this NASCAR crap from the fan sections, and started coming home with bags and bags of that, and they needed more room. So I took my hydroponics room, and it's now my broadcast room, and just put a little very small home theater, which is about 7 by 11, because we don't have a lot of people coming over watching everything, to put more stuff up. And I still have more stuff. So that's why I'm giving it out to people who join my race team. So besides the 802 Cup Series, what else do you do on iRacing? What other leagues, or what's your favorite series to drive there?
So I run the fixer, well, not even fixer. I run the Open A weekly if I like the track.
Yeah.
The next couple weeks seem pretty rough. It's going to be like Daytona Road Course and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Which I have no problem with the Daytona Road Course, because I wanted to do the 24 Beers of Daytona until I did the next gen car on there, and I said, there's no way I can run this car here.
Yep. Well, I don't know if you were listening last week when Justin Clapper was on, and he talked about the changes in their format this year, because last year, the first year they did it, the whole 24 hours or the 3 segments was all the LMP2. And this year they changed it, and he says they purposely put the next gen car in the middle just to see if how it would go. And basically, his partner doing it says that car should not be on that track, and then Clapper's like, that car should not be on any track.
No, I tried running their setup that they have for it,
yeah,
and I just could not get the car. I mean, I did multiple laps, and it does not want to turn compared to those LMPs and the Corvette.
Yeah, I think that the Daytona Road Course, that's a tough course. A lot of it feels, and even to me, looks like the Roval at Charlotte, but I just find it a much more difficult course to race.
Yeah, I've been racing it for the last couple, probably the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've been doing a lot of road course racing, just because I wanted to get some time in on Daytona in case I did do it.
Yeah.
But it's a fun course to race.
Yeah. So you would have had no problem throwing away 244 ounces of beer during the 3 segments?
I don't know if I could have done it by myself, but I sure would have tried.
I think that's the requirement, is at least, was it 12 ounces? Or, I think he said something like it was like you had to have 24 beers between your team, and I think each driver had to do a minimum of 12. So it's something like that, yeah. And it could have been hard cider, hard tea, anything like that, as long as it was something that you had to pop open or screw top, I think. But
that was the other problem, was where was I going to take my sips at, because there's not many places to take a drink while you're racing.
No, that's true. Oh, and then they said during the overnight section, I think the second segment ended at midnight, I believe, and they were going to leave the track open for anybody that wanted to race all night, and they were just going to drink beer and play, heavy metal rock all night. So I didn't get a chance to see the end of it, but I saw some of the videos that he put up, and it was a lot of fun. You prefer oval or road?
I'm an oval guy.
Yeah.
Through and through. I mean, I'd like to mess around with the road course as long as I got a best line on there. It tells me when to brake.
Okay. Yeah. My I rating on road, I think, is like 500, but I absolutely love driving on road, but I just suck when it comes to competing against everybody else. But it is a lot of fun. And
I think, speaking of Lime Rock, I think I got my only, well, I probably got more than one road course win, but I think I got my only win there in the ARCA car.
Wow. I think that's where I got one of my few, and it was in, I want to say the Miata. I think it was in a Miata. That or the Pontiac. Yeah. Like that. Open setups. Do you do your own setups, or who does them for you?
No, I use Buster's Buddies. I don't know if you've ever heard of them.
Nope.
Okay, so they're a group of guys that I think it's 2 or 3 brothers, and then there's a bunch of guys in there.
Yeah.
And they run usually the first open session of the week, which is at whatever time Eastern. I think it's 7:30.
Okay.
And they'll run that one race, and then they start getting ready for the next week. But they have a Discord, and they put all their setups in there, and they collect data throughout the week, and it's all free.
No kidding. You can't beat that.
They're like one of the only groups that's free, I think, but
Yep.
they work really hard on them, and the setups are always. There's usually about 2 or 3 different setups you could choose,
Yeah.
but they're pretty quick.
And do you modify the setups during the week, or just follow their data?
They update them during the week. Sometimes he updates them right after the first race,
Yep.
or whatever they see throughout the week, and then they'll give you ideas on changing the rear ends in them if you want to get a higher gear at certain spots, or what to do with your tires if one you're getting loose out of the corner. They kind of give you those kind of tips if you ask them.
Okay. While you're racing, do you use any accoutrements like Sim Hub or any seat shakers or anything like that?
No, I use Crew Chief and Race Lab,
Yeah.
which is nice. I'm kind of looking for a new spotter.
Mhm.
Crew Chief's nice, but it did screw me out of a good finish earlier in the year when I think it was, I don't know where it was. I think it was Charlotte. I came in to get gas on the end of the race, and it didn't give me any gas, and I ran out of gas.
I've heard that's happened a couple of times on Crew Chief, but it seems like it's really, really good, but the few times it's bad, it's really, really bad.
Yeah. Well,
Got
now
it.
that I fixed it, I haven't had the issue. But
Okay.
besides that, Race Labs is extremely nice. There's too many um, overlays that you could do there. There's so much.
Yeah, and there's
Especially if you like have one monitor, they have blind spots. They'll
Yep.
tell you if there's a car and you're outside, you can't see.
Right, and you can change the size of the blind spot warnings and stuff. I was playing around with that last night. It's almost as tweakable as Photoshop. It seems there's so much you can do with it.
Yeah.
Which is your favorite overlay that you use, and why do you use it?
I probably use the relative on there the most, just because well, you can change whatever you want on there, but
Yeah.
it tells you the strength of field,
Okay.
how many I rating you're going to gain, and then it tells you like who pitted on what lap.
Oh, no kidding.
So it kind of gives you an idea of everybody else's strategy.
Yeah.
If you don't have a spotter or somebody telling you.
And do you have anything there besides the black box and iRacing for how many laps of fuel you have left?
No, that's what I use is the black box. I don't
Okay.
use a fuel calculator or anything like that.
Got it. Yeah, I use the one from SynHub mainly because if I start scrolling through the black box, I'll take myself out in half the field.
Yeah,
That's the way I
I
have it.
try and use as many buttons on my wheel as I possibly can.
Yeah. So what I have up here on the screen is the 802 Cup Series champion. Tell me about that trophy, and I understand you're the designer of it and you made it.
Well, I think Dave Lamaga probably designed the actual 802 Cup Series logo.
Yeah.
But I kind of took that, and then I own a CNC machine, and I run out of the woods crafts. And basically, I took that logo, put it in my program, was able to make it out of wood now. And I just added the same font below it, champion, and then we were able to cut it out and make it look exactly like the logo that Dave made.
That's pretty good. Now, explain to me who likes woodworking but doesn't know the difference between a screwdriver and a drill, what a CNC machine is.
So, CNC machine is a computer program that you make nodes, which are basically paths for the router to go through, and you can change the bits. I think this one had probably 3 or 4 bit changes I had to do during it. And so you basically give it a path to run, and it'll take that path, and it'll do small paths until it gets down to a certain whatever depth you set it to. And the maroon on there on this one is a film, because I already painted the bottom of it white, and then this maroon, after that I spray painted everything black, and then peeled off the NASCAR logo section and painted those by hand, yellow, red, and blue.
Oh, that's cool. So kind of akin to 3D printing in a way?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's way more than I have ever dabbled with to some of this. You can make some wavy stuff. You can you could do all kinds of stuff with this thing. I mean, the stuff that you could do with it is endless.
Wow. So again, like Photoshop, it's something you probably never do every single thing you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about your business out of the woodcraft. What do you make there, and how did you start that?
That started with my mom. I built things out of wood
Yeah.
forever, and I would sell them to people. And then she was like, "You really need to go to craft shows and start doing this stuff." And at first, I was doing this kind of stuff by hand with a Dremel,
Oh wow.
like stars on flags and stuff like that. I would
Yep.
literally have to sit there and Dremel it out by hand, which takes way longer than this machine.
Yep. And a
But I
lot more
mean, I
aggravation.
started with building cornhole boards,
Hmm.
just like signs with cricket vinyl on them, and then eventually I wanted to save up to get one of these machines, and then COVID hit,
Yep.
and my business took off with Etsy. I was
Oh,
doing
okay.
welcome signs and stuff like that for like the
Yep.
front porch,
Yep.
and that year I think I did 4 times my normal sales because of
Wow.
Etsy.
That's great. I
Yeah.
I'm a garden designer by trade, and I spent my career as a buyer for one of the largest lawn and garden uh, independent garden center companies on the East Coast. And I retired 7 years ago, opened up my own little thing, and then again, like you said, when COVID hit and all the weird rules in New York, you couldn't do this, couldn't do that. So I started propagating little house plants and such like that when the houseplant craze hit, and I sell on Etsy. And when they raised their fees from what 5 to 6.5%, everybody started complaining. And I got on some of the pages, said, "Look, where else, basically for overhead, shipping and the fees for like under 10%, they do the marketing, they collect the sales tax, they create the shipping, collect the shipping money and everything for you, and everybody's bitching about it." And I'm like, you're going to go on Shopify and you're going to do the same thing, and now you've got to Shopify's not going to market for you. They're going to market for to sell websites to you. But I mean, to me, Etsy is a great platform.
It is. I mean, that's where I got my start with selling stuff
Yep.
besides doing craft shows. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, we moved the beginning of last year, and I shut the shop down, and it's taken me forever because we've been having to remodel this house.
Mm.
But to get the shop back open, plus I have no heat down in my 3-car shop garage that
Sounds
I have
like
all this
me.
stuff in. So I just put a wood burning stove down there a couple of
Oh,
weeks
okay.
ago, like a barrel.
Yep.
Um, and now I'm able to go back down there and work in the winter. So
Yep.
Etsy is definitely the platform.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows of them, so everybody goes there to look for items.
Yep.
And I did I think 6 or 7 years on Etsy with amazing sales,
Yep.
and it's just a side gig for me because I'm
Oh
an
yeah.
electrician by day. So
Oh, no kidding. Okay. Got it. Okay. Yeah, I don't. To me, it's beer money. It pays the taxes on my house because when my daughter got married, she said, "Dad, what are you going to do with your room?" And I said, "Well, we got a dog and 2 cats that would destroy all my plants if I had them. So I'm going to turn it into a little greenhouse room and sell stuff." So it's about a couple $1,000s a year I do out of it, very simply because the plants are small. I'm not going to ship anything big where shipping is going to be a nightmare because I don't want to carry big boxes down to my truck and then drive them to the post office. So everything is like little 2 inch, 4 inch pots. And my average sale is about $15, and the profit margin is like 60 to 70%. So, and Etsy's just great for that. So how did
yeah,
you? Go ahead.
good, good.
All right. How did you come across the 802 Cup Series?
I believe I was on Facebook under iRacing leagues.
Ah, okay.
We did a league last year with with the legend cars, and that takes a specific set of skills to keep those cars straight.
Yep.
The NASCAR legends.
Yeah.
But they were fun.
Mm-hmm.
Learned a lot in those, and then was really looking for a next gen league, and we were looking for a little bit longer. And actually, I like the logo.
Yep.
The logo caught my eye. That was the first thing.
Ah, okay.
Um, So I gave it a shot, and I was like, "Yeah, we'll try it. We'll do one of the recruitment races." And
Yeah.
we were hooked from there because I called John. I said, "This is the one we're going to do," and he's like,
Cool.
"Yeah, absolutely, let's do it."
Great. I've been racing with these guys. Gosh, I think this is going on. Oh, it's got, I think, close to 3 years with a bunch of them, like Mike Killenbeck, John Lamaga, um, Rob Lowell. I think the 3 or 4 of us, we've been racing together, I think almost 3 years now.
You know what? That's what it was. I think I saw Joe Six Pack Racing, and I just joined it. And then as soon as I joined it, someone posted it and it closed. And I was like, "What?"
Yeah, that was me. That was my league, and basically there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. And basically it just got overwhelmed. Instead of asking somebody to take it over, I took my football and went home and paid dearly for it. So
Yeah.
it was just a bunch of stuff. We had a whole team that was admins that we had to ask to leave because they started doing some funky stuff like that. And so I had, the heck else was going on? My daughter was getting married. She had stuff going on at school, and I had my business going. It just got to be too much. And instead of throwing a rope out for help, I threw a rope around and hung myself. So that's what happened, and I came back with my tail between my legs, and so now I'm just being the quiet little guy racing in the back, but having fun. And then being asked to be an admin and doing this is like, oh, cool. So this is like running a league without the responsibility. I can do that.
It takes a lot of work.
It does.
I mean,
It is.
Rob puts in a lot of time.
Yeah, he does. It is a tremendous amount. And when I was doing the Joe Six Pack, we had 3 leagues going. And I am off in the winter and semi-retired. Even in the summer, I only work 3 days a week. But I think between promoting and doing the podcast and all the stuff on the Facebook pages, it was about 30 hours a week. And
Yeah.
it really got to be, it takes a toll after a while.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun thing to do, and then you get involved, and then people don't appreciate it. You're like, why am I doing this? Why am I beating myself up over this?
Yeah. It was kind of like that. So, and then, I just ran away. I got scared. I'll admit it. Ran away and hid. And then, like I said, came back with my tail between my legs. So that's why I'm quiet and running in the back. So, penny stackers. Explain that logo, because it's kind of cool and bizarre at the same time. It kind of looks like one of those biohazard waste symbols. Is that where it's derived from? Can you describe what the stuff is out there outside your circle between the penny stackers and the?
Well, we went with the Pistons just because that was
Pistons.
auto related, and then the penny stackers came from Corey LaJoy. He hasn't asked us to sue us yet, but
Okay.
we listen to his podcast, Stacking Pennies, every week. I listen to that, the Dale Jr. podcast.
Okay.
And all the Dale Jr. podcasts. I listen to all of them.
Oh, he's great.
But yeah, that's where we got the penny stackers, because we kind of figured we were going to be low budget team, fly under the radar, and then the skull was just something I found on there, and I was like, yeah, I like that.
The minute you said Pistons, now I'm like, oh, that's what it is. Shows you how much I know about engines, because I'm like, wow. Because to me, it kind of resembles that biohazard symbol a little bit. With all the
yeah, it does. It does.
All right, so that makes sense.
Then I tried to make it look like a penny with a head, but I couldn't find a sideways head with a skull and a helmet. And if anybody knows a graphic designer, that's my best right there. I'm looking for better.
Dave Lamaga's pretty good.
Yeah, I know. Dave does really good work too.
Yeah, he did all our stuff for the Joe Six Pack League, and he does it for this one. And he does all of them, the ones for the races too, which are pretty cool. What else do we have here? If you're just tuning in, this is the 802 Cup Series podcast, where we're talking to our guest this week, Frank Zingen. Zingen, it is?
It sounds like singing, but it's a Z.
Zingen, okay.
You got it.
Frank Zingen, driver of the car number 62. He races with the Penny Stackers race team. He thinks he's low budget. I run my team for $5 a week. Whoever finishes on the team highest gets $5 in iRacing credits, and everybody gets a coffee mug and coffee and a bag of my extra iRacing crap, or NASCAR crap, that I've got to get rid of. So we're going to go over to the Vegas review now. Frank, you're more than welcome to stay in and give your thoughts on Vegas when we talk about it here, and what you did right, what you did wrong, and then we'll talk about what's coming up for Atlanta.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we're going to take a look this week. It was Las Vegas. It was week number 9. It was the movie night 130, originally scheduled for 100 laps. And then we figured out that all the time everybody takes to practice and line up, we'd be done in like 25 minutes. So we increased the lap count to 130. And again, I want to thank Riptide Radio, Jeff Barefoot, for throwing out a $5 gift card to a random driver every week. So even when it's going to be 3 inches or 6 inches, depending on who you listen to in New York, you can just tune in to Riptide Radio and get some of that Carolina beach music known as Carolina Shag. It was at Las Vegas. It was 130 laps under the lights. The average lap time, which includes time for cautions, was 42.633 seconds. We ran 135 laps because we had to do the green-white checker. There were 7 cautions, 28 laps under cautions. Really cool 12 lead changes during the race and a strength of field of 15-18. So, Frank, you finished pretty well during the race there, didn't you? You were like P2 or something, I think?
Yeah, I blew it in the last corner.
Ah, okay.
Well, actually, I blew it probably burning my tires up trying to chase everybody down. Then we got that late caution, and Mike was going to blow by me anyway. He had a brand new set of tires sitting in the pits.
Yeah, as I remember that last night, you were talking about in the admin meeting how there was one guy you were chasing down and you made up 8 seconds in like 2 laps. Describe that one for us.
Kenny Reel, he pitted way earlier than I did, and I was trying to do the long run, see if I could stay out longer and hope for a caution, which the caution didn't come until 2 laps to go. I was going to run out of gas by then. So, but he was about, I think, 8 to 10 seconds ahead of me, and his tires, he was running hard.
Yeah.
So at that point, I had newer tires, and I was running them down.
Mm-hmm.
Probably we only had 2 laps to go. I think I was within 2 seconds, and I was almost picking up a second a lap, so it would have been pretty close.
Ah, okay. So what was the key moment for you in the race, and how? Well, first of all, let's say, how far back were you at any time during the race? Were you back driving around me? I thought I saw you back there.
I think the furthest I went back was probably 7th, I think. I try and stay in the middle of the pack because I save my tires as best I can.
Okay, so if you were by me, you were lapping me. Thank you very much.
No,
because
I mean, that was a fun race. That was probably the most I gripped the steering wheel all year with how loose the car would get, and it was fun.
I was probably more exhausted after that race than any other one this year. Dover was tough. I was tired after Dover, but last night it just seemed to be a very grueling race for some reason.
It was. I mean, anytime you come out of the corners, you felt like you were about to be sideways. And sometimes you didn't even know you were sideways until it was too late.
Okay. What was your pit strategy, and did you end up using any of your quick repairs last night?
I think I used a quick repair on the last pit stop just to see if I had any damage or not. But yeah, my strategy was basically run it till the tires fell off it, and it worked until it didn't.
Okay. Usually what I hear on our Discord from other drivers is their strategy is to go back after the practice race and jump in Rob's cockpit and start writing down his braking points.
Oh, so other people watch what Rob does, not just me. He's always on me about it.
Yeah, well, at least...
No, Rob's a great person to watch, even just to ride behind him, because he's already taught me so much this year about field of view. In the car.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. That changed a whole bunch. Because when I got in here at the beginning of the year, we ran that Michigan race. The first race, it was like a throwaway race, but it was like a race they did, and I was like, man, I am going to get smoked in this league this year.
Yeah, because the field of view is not what you think it is. Because when I started racing, I was okay. I got to see both, the side view mirror if there is one and stuff like that. And Rob's like, no, that's not how it works. Watch this video. And I was like, oh, okay. So big.
Yeah, I used to be the guy that had to sit back, be able to see the steering wheel, what's
Right.
out my right window, what's out my
Yep.
left window.
And then
Now I'm like on top of the hood.
exactly, because it seems like it should be driving a regular car, but wait, you're not seeing anything right in front of you there.
Yeah.
So, what else? What was your? So you said you run until the tires fell off. So did you use all 4 sets?
Yeah, I used my last set right before that caution, probably.
Yeah.
When I was chasing them down. I mean, there's only so much you can do to save tires, and this track was going to eat them up.
Exactly. And I like saving tires too, but when, like I said, I'm like a mid-pack runner. I'm happy finishing close to P10. That's good enough for me. But when you're sitting there saving your tires and you're watching the relative on your screen there, or I run SimHub and I'm watching the standings, like the top 10 or something like that, and all of a sudden you see yourself fading. You're like, okay, are those guys going to blow their tires, or am I just going to sit back here and get further back? So it's a strategy, and sometimes it's tough to do.
I feel like we preach it every week how much you got to save tires.
Yeah.
Because each week we say, yeah, save tires, save tires. But you probably won't be saying it this week in Atlanta. So
no. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the starting grid for last night. See, everybody was there. Johnny Barker started at the pole. His best time was 30.392. Rob Lowell was P2 at the start last night. His qualifying time was 30.4296. Brandon Garand was P3 with his best lap of 30.466. And Frank, you were P4 with 30.485. Nick Larson, P5 with a time of 30.487. Larry Murphy in P6 at 30.532. Brandon Redford at 7 with 30.56. Jeff Barefoot qualified 8th with 30.582. And looky, there I am in the top 10, but only for qualifying P9. And for me, I thought I had a pretty good time there, 30.597. That was the top 10 for qualifying. What do you look to do in qualifying? Oh, that was the Etsy cash register, and nope, nobody bought anything. They just favored a plant. So that's what that.
Oh, I know that sound.
You know that
well.
sound. So when you're qualifying, what's your strategy for qualifying? Do you do it by the track, see who's out there driving and who's doing well, or you just have a place where you want to be up close to the start or in the middle?
Well, lately I've been trying to get pole just because that's an extra point.
Right.
And I was trying to catch up back up to the top, but normally for me qualifying is trying to figure out. I don't even look at anybody else's lines. I try and go out there and figure it out for myself for qualifying.
That makes sense. So the Vegas top finishers, and if you're just tuning in or scrolling through the internet, we are one of the, well, we're not the last stop on the internet, but we are out there. This is the 802 Cup Series podcast. We race on Sunday nights on iRacing. Recruiting is done for the season, but if you want to join us for next season, just click on the iRacing Leagues tab, look for 802 Cup Series podcast, request an invite, and the admins will look over your stats and get back to you. And if we like what we see, you'll get an invite to the next recruiting season. So the race last night, Mike Hillingbeck won. He's the car of the driver number 70. His best lap was lap number 4. He only led one lap last night, and that's the only one that counted, the last one. His best lap time was 30.249. Frank, you finished second. You drive number 62. Your best time last night was 30.508 on lap 6. And you were pretty darn close. You were 0.102 seconds behind Frank. Rob Lowell finished third to complete the podium. He led 14 laps last night, and he was just under a second behind, rounding out the top finishers last night. Johnny Barker, number 6. Ouch. He led 82 of the 135 laps last night. He finished 1.8 seconds back. And P5 was Brandon Garand. He finished 2.1 seconds back. Didn't lead any laps. Kenny Reel finished P6. He drives number 22. finished a lap down, but he did lead 22 laps. Larry Murphy finished P7. His best lap was 30.423. Cole Jarrett in 8th. Chris Max in 9th. And Jeff Barefoot finished in P10. And how he was, can't see his interval time. Nope, because he was a lap down. And that's the top 10 from last night. And now we're going to go checking out our points leaders here. And I do believe this is the last race coming up here for the regular season, isn't it?
No, we got 2 more. We got this one more. And then Darlington.
Oh, Darlington's the last one. No wonder they put Darlington there. So that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I'm using my other screen here because my eyes are so bad. I can't really read too well what's on the small screen in front of me. So that's why that would delay there. So points leaders as of week 9. We have a tie for the lead here between Rob Lowe and Frank Zingen. Both of them have 371 points. Lowell might have the edge there with 3 wins. Frank, you have 1 win. Rob's average start and finish is 6. Your average start, Frank, you started 9th, and average finish is 5. Third place is Dave Lamaga, not too far behind. 365 points with 2 wins. Brandon Garand is in P4, actually P3, with 356 points, followed by Johnny Barker with 345, Jason Wally with 330, John Bewley with 329, Chris Max with 327, Eli Raposa with 322, Larry Murphy with 321, Brandon Redford with 318. So we got a points race coming up there. So what are you going to do to try to take down Rob or Dave there?
I'm going to have to hack into more of their sessions and start seeing what they're doing. We do a lot of testing throughout the week. I do a lot of single car testing, kind of give feedback back to them if they're not on. The guys on our team. But a lot of it is doing long 40-lap runs, however long a run you could do, and seeing what your tires are, and then trying to see what part of the racetrack the tire wears more at and how you can control it better.
Got it. So do you think, what's your prediction for the end of the season? I know you want to finish first. Where do you think you're going to finish?
If I finish top 3, I'd be happy. I mean, Dave and Rob are super fast.
Yeah, they are.
And their whole Wolfpack is fast. I mean, I feel bad for Johnny. Johnny's been up front 3 or 4 races this year he should have won, and just falls apart badly somehow around him.
Yeah, especially Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably like the 3rd race his pit strategy was going to work out, and then a caution comes out.
Yep. I've had similar stuff like that. It seems there's hardly a race where I don't get wrecked pretty bad, but Dover, I don't think I got wrecked at all, and that's usually one of my worst tracks. I got wrecked a couple times last night, but still ended up finishing not too far off where I wanted to be. Let's go to we have something new this year, the Rookie of the Year. It's a $30 end-of-year prize sponsored by Kerry Shaver, driver of car number 18. And that's the 802 Cup Series Rookie of the Year. And currently, as of week 9, Frank Zingen is in the lead with 60 points, followed by John Bewley with 50. Close behind Larry Murphy, 49. Mike Fish with 39. Chris Ritchie, 38. Chris Max, 44. Brandon Redford, 42. Cole Jarrett, 39. Aaron Brown, a Joe Sixpack Racing Team member with 36. Charles Dickey, Joe Sixpack Racing Team member with 27. Matt Fanoof at 30. Kenny Reel, 22. Isaac is gone. Eddie Bruno with 4 points. John Leclerc with 3. And Hunter Bogdan with 2. And it's called the Rookie of the Year because it's if it's your first season racing with a team, whether you're a brand new driver or you've been driving for as long as I have, about 7 or 8 years. And that's a prize that's put up by courtesy of Kerry Shaver, driver of the car number 18, and the winner there gets $30. So Frank, you're in the running for some prize money this year, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm hoping it all pans out.
There you go. And once again, I want to give a shout out to Jeff Barefoot and Riptide Radio for throwing out a $5 gift card every single week to a random driver tune into Riptide Radio and listen to some of that great Carolina beach music. I'm going to take a preview right now for Atlanta, which is coming up this week. It's 125 laps, 2 quick repairs. Setup's pretty much the same every week, 75% fuel, 2 quick repairs, 3 tire changes, and the weather at not Las Vegas, but Atlanta this week will be 78 degrees, 55% humidity with a 2-mile-an-hour breeze coming out of the north, and it's a 3:42 afternoon time start. I've only raced Atlanta a couple times. That's a tire eater, isn't it? On the old track, I think that's where we're running.
No, we're running on the new configuration,
the new one.
Super Speedway.
It says right here in front of me. Okay, I misread a couple things on the Discord this week. So, what's your impression of the new track versus the old tire eater with all the bumps and grinds on it?
Well, it's a super smooth track. I used to, when I first raced it, I was like, I hate this. It's so small, and you think things happen quick at Talladega or Daytona, they happen twice as fast here in Atlanta.
All right. So it sounds like I better do some practicing between now and Sunday.
Yeah, you have to be thinking 3 steps ahead before you're 4 steps behind yourself on this one.
Yeah. So I take it your team's going to do some pretty serious practicing and compare notes and stuff?
For this one, it's really about staying in the draft and working together. My strategy is avoid all the wrecks as usual and probably hang in the back for a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Now, being that it's a new track, I'm not familiar with the physics of iRacing. If it's a pretty new track, is it not going to have a lot of rubber put down on it, even on iRacing?
I don't know about that on this one.
Okay. All right. So, without revealing any secrets, I always like to find out what you guys talk about on your team channel, because I know on ours it's a lot of chop busting going back and forth, and me being in the back, mid-pack, and a couple of my drivers being up front. It just seems like it's a little easier for me in the back to see when a restart is on the driver. I sometimes have a better view of when the driver takes off than somebody up front. So what do you guys do in situations on restarts? Do you let everybody, if you're up front, does somebody tell you when you're going, or do you tell them?
If we're both on the outside row, which doesn't happen very often, I'll communicate when I'm going. I think last week we had Kenny Reel and Brandon Redford up on the outside, they were in the front row at one point, and I think me and Chris Max were on the second row, and I said, they're going to take off and we're not going to know. They're going to be talking. But besides that, for drafting and stuff like that, we'll tell each other if someone's below them, if you can't see what's going on around you. And I wish I would have listened to Chris Max coming into that final turn, because he was telling me, get low. Larry Murphy was down there, but he was a lap down. He's like, you can clog the bottom lane, and that might have gave me a chance against Mike.
Gotcha. Yep. Yeah, that's kind of the stuff that we do. Because when we had the Fish there, he used to run up front, but myself and Aaron would be kind of pretty close to each other, and helping each other out like that. Do you guys try to take pit stops all at once if you're running close?
We'll talk pit strategy. Sometimes we don't always agree on what each other wants to do, but we'll sometimes, hasn't happened yet, but there's been talks about taking 2 tires, and then at the last minute everybody takes 4. But yeah, there's a lot of chitter chatter what is going to happen with drafting and stuff like that. I think me and Chris worked together at Daytona at the end, and we got up front. So we'll see what happens.
In a Joe Sixpack, I never ran on a team because mainly I was the admin and team owner, and it just didn't feel right being on a team, so I ran by myself. But when I ran with Rob last year, what a difference it makes when you're on a team and you can communicate with drivers who are trying to do the same thing you are, as opposed to just yelling at the guy who just took you out on the last turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it does make a big difference there. What else? Oh, question. Because what we do is on our team is when we're talking pit strategy, always asking each other how many laps you have left on your lap counter or something like that. Are you guys all pretty close on the laps, or you ever come across when somebody, let's say you've got 4 guys on your team and 3 of you are within 2 laps on your laps remaining, and somebody's like way off? Does that ever happen?
Yeah, it happens quite often.
No kidding. Okay.
But that is partially to if there's a lot of cautions.
Yeah.
I usually shut my car off and clutch.
Okay.
Just to see if I can save more gas and make a shorter pit stop.
That makes sense.
But I mean, John does the same thing. I think Chris does. I'm not sure that Cole does. But yeah, we get a lot of difference in fuel sometimes.
That makes sense with the clutch. I don't use that, but I do see where the advantage is. I know my son, when he's racing down here, he uses that quite a bit. I'm like, that's just one more thing I don't need to learn at my age. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier with your pedals, you had them inverted. Do you like that better because it's more like driving a real car, or why did you have them inverted instead of sitting on the floor like I do?
John Buell actually bought the pedals before me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was like, you gotta come try these things. So I went over to his house, tried them on his rig, and I was like, yeah, I'm buying those. They have like a vibrating, like a spinning thing. Every time it feels like you're overdriving the car and it's loose,
yeah,
this thing starts vibrating on the pedals and you can feel it in the brakes.
Yeah.
And so it's just another thing to tell you you're overdriving the car.
Got it. So it's kind of like force feedback for the pedals.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, I said, Frank, that's pretty much it for me tonight. I'm just going to go to the closing page. I want to thank you for filling in for the driver who didn't get back to me this week, because I think he's got something going on. He posted on our team page there was something he's taken care of, but he would eventually be back. So thanks for filling in at the last minute and sticking around and talking about Vegas and Atlanta this week and hacking into Rob's team channel. Was it? Is that how you got into his team channel tonight?
They had a practice session open up for Vegas.
Oh, so you really broke in.
Well, I typed the password in, got in, and then I was like, oh boy, better not be in here. So I didn't even go in. I just disconnected right away before I even loaded in.
That's funny, because I wondered what that was when I'm down here getting ready, and all of a sudden the little thing from Discord pops up, and it says Rob Lowell for immediate release. We were broken into tonight. Well, I want to thank once again Frank Zingen, driver car number 62, Penny Stackers Racing Team, and a member of the 802 Cup Series admin team. Good luck practicing, and we'll see you on the track on Sunday.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
And as we come to a close for another edition of the 802 Cup Series podcasts, crass commercial message here for the Joe Sixpack Racing Team. If you're out there and you're in the league, we get an opening for a couple of drivers. We offer some weekly prizes. The top finishing driver on our team each week gets $5 in racing credits. You get some Joe Sixpack Racing coffee mugs, as well as some fresh roasted coffee that I roast outside here at my home during the winter. I want to thank Penny Stackers Racing Team for being in the league and letting Frank run and letting him come on tonight. And also shout out again to Riptide Radio and Jeff Barefoot for giving a gift card every single week to a random driver to tune into some of that Carolina shag on Riptide Radio to get you through the winter. Our broadcaster is Extreme Sim TV. You can log on every night to YouTube. Just search for Extreme Sim TV or do a search for the 802 Cup Series, and you'll find us running live there every week. Also, my other podcast, the Joe Sixpack Racing Podcast, what I call the Sim Racing Podcast, which we do stuff just like we do here, but we don't review leagues. We talk to other drivers and people in sim racing. So if you're on the 802 Cup Series League, come volunteer to be a guest before I chase you down. Everybody's got a lot to talk about, as you can see by tonight. Great conversation here, and shout out to the league owners for letting me do the podcast. I absolutely love doing this. It's a blast. And again, if you want to be on the podcast, just hit me up on Discord. If you want to join the 802 Cup Series League, recruiting is closed for the season. However, watch our races. They're very, very competitive for a laid-back league. We do fixed sets, Cup Series every Sunday night at 6:45. Practice races during the week, and we're talking over right now what to do for the summertime. Usually has some fun stuff going on there. Look for us recruiting season for repeat myself again, for season 3 coming up. You can find us on our Facebook page. And if you have any interest in joining the league, give us a shout on iRacing. Just go to the league tab, look for 802 Cup Series, and request an invite. We'll check your numbers. And if we like what we see, we'll send you an invite to join us for the next recruiting season. On behalf of the 802 Cup Series, this is Greg Draiss for the 802 Cup Series podcast. We'll be back again next Tuesday night talking about what happened at Atlanta and looking forward to our throwback series, which will be at Darlington, and that's going to end the regular season before we head into playoff season. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. It'll be on YouTube forever, Twitch for the next 2 weeks, and you can catch us on Spotify and all the major podcast platforms later tomorrow. Have yourselves a good night. Bye-bye.